One case for the mapping from an entity relationship model into a relational database model might be that we have a one-to-one relationship set. One-to-one, like here, the doctor on the left side is somehow connected to a room, and let's say the doctor is assigned to one room, and one room is there for only one doctor. So doctor in one room, not many rooms where a doctor can work, and in a room only one doctor works or has an office, like here. And what we also see here is that the relationship set, this has office, does not have any attributes. That's important for our first mapping. The relationship set does not have any attributes. I mentioned it because it's different if there are attributes in the relationship set than you do another mapping. If you have a case like that, then we just map our relationship set or our different entity types, entity sets, to one relation. The result you can see here at the bottom as a textual notation and as a graphical notation with a table. We create a table, we name it doctor because it's about the doctor, and we add the attributes from the entity set doctor, doctor name, and doctor family name. And now to each doctor there's a room assigned, and we just add the room as another column in our table. We just add the attribute from the other entity set into the first entity set, into the entity set for the doctor. And here you could ask, why do we add the room number to the doctor, and why don't we add the doctor number or the doctor family name to the room? This is because of the semantics. The semantics here means that the doctor is a more important entity set. So actually we want to save our doctors in our database, and the room of course is important for the as the office of the doctor, but the doctor, saving the doctor with its attributes, with its attributes describing the doctor more precisely, is more important than the room. So the room actually mutates to an attribute which is added, which is appended to the doctor table. Like you can see here, room number is just appended. And it would not make that much sense if we would add the doctor number or the doctor family name to the room table. It makes more sense if we add it in this direction. So the direction depends on the semantics, on the importance of the different entity sets in your entity relationship model. And then there might be another case for the relationship set with the cardinality one-to-one. The case might be that we have attributes, like shown here, attributes describing this relationship set in more detail. So just if we first have a look onto the model, we connect the doctor to the room. Again, a doctor has an office in one room. Some doctor has an office in one room, and in one room, out of the set of rooms, there is only one doctor assigned who has an office there. So it's a one-to-one relationship set. And here in this case, we might assign the doctor room for a certain period of time, so that we know when a doctor starting having his office in the room and when it ended, that the doctor has his office in the specific room. And then we add the start date and the end date to this relationship set. We do not add the start date and the end date to the doctor because start date and end date do not describe the doctor entity set in detail. And also start date and end date do not describe the room entity set in detail. Start date and end date is most appropriate to add it to has office, to this relationship set. So start date and end date describe this having an office in more detail. Having an office from a certain start date until a certain end date. Additional information. And we have this case. Then we map this situation, this part of a entity relationship model, to two separate tables. Two separate tables like shown here in the bottom of the slide. A doctor table and the room table. The doctor table stays almost the same like before. We just do not add the room number. We just add the describing attributes, doctor number and doctor family name. And the second table is the room table. The room table in which the doctor number is referred as a foreign key. We have the room number and we have a start date. Also the end date is a column because end date is an attribute of the relationship set. And now let's have a specific look at the primary key of this room here. You see that start date and doctor number is the primary key, the compound primary key for our room table, for our room relation. How comes? In this case, we somehow look for a natural key describing this doctor to room relationship. And this means that doctor is one part of this natural key, but we also need the start date, because if a doctor works in different offices to different times in the year, let's say, in different offices, then we have a doctor which appears with many tuples in the room table, and we somehow have to distinguish that the doctor is not the same every time. So the doctor in the room table is not the same every time, because in the room table we describe a certain period of time when the doctor has the office in the specific room. And what describes that in detail is that we say the doctor number and the start date lead to our primary key, or form our compound primary key in this case. So if we take these two attributes as the primary key, as the compound primary key, then we can describe it uniquely where the doctor has his office at a certain time or for a certain period. So if you want to map the relationship set, the one-to-one relationship set with attributes onto tables, then you look for the mapping from the entity set to the table first, and then you look for the mapping of the relationship set with its attributes to the second table. And then as a last important step, you have to find an appropriate primary key, like here the compound primary key, start date and doctor number, a primary key which describes this relation in detail.